Let's do this in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to Journeys to College and Beyond. I'm here with our very first guest who we're very, very excited to talk to. Today we're talking about a topic that I think everyone in the college search zone can relate to, which is building community, finding a group of friends, and finding a sense of purpose outside of the classroom on a college campus. So without further ado, we're here with Courtney. Courtney, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
We're so happy to have you. Thanks for being our very first guest and bearing with us.
Of course.
Through learning curves and all that stuff. So like I said, Courtney, we're talking about building community on this episode today. So tell me a little bit about how you have built community or found opportunities during your college experience.
Yeah, so it's definitely a difficult start for me, I would say. We're on a very large campus, and I didn't really know how to go about it at first. But I'd say getting involved with registered student organizations on campus, which are clubs here, that's been super helpful. And also just connecting with people, whether that's in your classes, when you go to the dining hall, in your residence halls, you can have the opportunity to connect with people everywhere on campus, which I really love. So building community for me has just been finding people that have similar interests as me, like-minded individuals, people who are kind of striving for the same things. So that's why I've become friends with a lot of people in my classes and also in my student organizations.
Wow. So at this campus specifically, kind of a big campus, so there's lots of clubs, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have over 1,000 student organizations, so there's
gosh.
so many to choose from. But we do have a few different opportunities where all of them are there at once, so you can kind of see everything that we have to offer. The first day before classes start, we always have our quad day. So every organization you can think of is out on our main quad. They have booths set up and you can go around and talk to them. They're also split up by different categories. So we'll have cultural organizations, academic organizations, professional honor societies. They're all split up in different categories. That way you can find what's interesting to you and you can sign up to get more information about it. And there's also a smaller version of that held at the beginning of the spring semester too. And that way students know what there is to offer. We also have a website where all of them are there too. So there's a lot to choose from, but there's also different, there's also different ways to learn about them too, to get involved.
That's crazy. So over 1,000, that's nuts. You mentioned quad day. I mean, I'll vouch for quad day personally. Quad day is crazy. It's hard to describe quad day in terms of the vibe, but it's, I don't know if you put it in a word, how would you describe it?
I think it's hectic, but in a good way. That was my first experience here on campus.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of wraps up our welcome week. And that was my first time interacting with people outside of my class. Because all of welcome week, it was events for the incoming first year students.
Yeah.
But at quad day, everyone is there. There's the graduate students who are even there. So it was a lot of people. It was a little bit overwhelming, but I loved every part of it because that made me feel like I was part of something bigger than me, seeing how many people were out there trying to get involved on campus.
Yes.
So I really loved it. And it's 4 or 5 hours long, and I spent the whole time just walking around. Even if I didn't talk to the different organizations, I just wanted to see what we had to offer here. So I thought that was a great opportunity for that.
It is probably the best opportunity for that. Because
Yeah.
you really hit the ground running with quad day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just tables and flyers. I mean, yes, it is tables and flyers, but it's people in costumes and people doing demonstrations,
Yeah.
performances, and free stuff, free food. Quad day is so much fun.
It is.
It's like a rite of passage for a freshman, I feel.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And transfer students too.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of students still go every single year. I've gone every single year to quad day, even though I know already what orgs I'm involved in. I keep going, and that's very common for a lot of students. It's a tradition to just start off the year with quad day.
Totally. So you said you go every year. What year are you in school?
I'm currently a senior.
Oh my gosh, senior year.
Yes.
How's senior year going so far?
It's pretty good. I'm very excited for graduation.
You feel good. You feel settled in.
Yeah, I do. I feel like I've spent a while here, and I'm sad to go, but also I'm prepared and excited for what's to come afterwards.
That's probably the best zone to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's currently just the very beginning of the second semester as we're recording. So that's great attitude. I love that. So you said you're a senior. What are you studying? Minors, majors, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I'm doing a dual degree in sociology and journalism. And a dual degree means I have 2 different majors in 2 different colleges here at the university. So one is sociology, as I mentioned, one is journalism. And then I also have 2 minors. One is political science and one is criminology. And I'm on the pre-law track. So that's like a lot of different things, but basically I just spend like all day reading and writing essays.
Oh my
And like
gosh.
the goal is law school.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, how cool. So, it sounds like you're very busy at the classroom. But apart from, obviously being so dedicated to your studies, two different majors, two different colleges, and all of the work that requires, you're also very involved in RSOs. Do you want to describe your experience forming your own RSO? I know we mentioned we have over 1,000, but you wanted to make it 1,001.
Yeah, so this happened at the end of my sophomore year, and it's called Latinx in Law. So it was founded by 4 or 5 of us that we came together and realized there was no resource directly for Latinx pre-law students. I'm involved in a few different like pre-law honor societies or like one of the pre-law professional fraternities, and so are the other members that founded the organization. But we felt like we needed a resource specifically for this demographic, and we wanted something that was more accessible to the entire student body. So we created this organization. It was the 5 of us, and it's called Latinx in Law, and it's been super successful. It's been a great resource. We have over 100 members now, which is really amazing. And I just love the experience of starting it also because, as you mentioned, there's over 1,000 organizations. So to figure out that there was still something missing is kind of interesting to us. But we loved starting it. I serve as the secretary of that organization now, and I'm still working with them. We do a lot of great things for students on campus. We've been able to connect them with like alumni or different students that are in law school right now. So it's been a really great experience.
That is so cool. I wish I had started something, but obviously I found my place in things that existed. But I talk to a lot of students in this kind of work that I do, and I've talked to a few who've made their own clubs, and they all have a different reason, but it's also kind of the same reason, which is like we have this opportunity on this campus at least to create our own space. Like you can always explore, but you can also always kind of like there's opportunity there to like make it for yourself. Yeah. Was it challenging to make your own?
It was actually a lot easier than I thought. So
Wow.
all that you really need is 5 members. So when you have 5 members, you can like get registered with the university, do some orientations, and you can get ready to go. I think the more challenging part for us was figuring out or like ensuring that we were staying separate from the already existing pre-law organizations because there tends to be a lot of overlap and we wanted to offer something unique through our organization. So it took like a lot more internal planning for that. But I'd say overall, like the university has a very seamless process for starting an RSO, which is really amazing.
That is amazing. And so if you started at sophomore year, you're 2 years in to this club.
Yeah, this is my second year with it.
Very cool. Do you see it continuing even after your graduation?
Yeah, absolutely. That was something that we wanted to make sure because everybody was the same year that we were starting it. So we're all getting ready to graduate. But we have like a lot of members that are younger, which is amazing. And they're all like getting ready to try to be on the board for next year. So I definitely see it continuing.
That's great. That's so cool to leave behind. And like, the work that you're doing at this club, it can continue even without you. That's like kind of the best.
Yeah, that's like the goal. I feel like it's to make sure that it has a lasting impact and that we're not helping students just for 2 years, that it can continue on.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow, very great work that you're doing there. And that's not the only thing that you're doing outside of the classroom. You're involved in a lot of other clubs, kind of high up, if I remember correctly. So tell us a little bit about Women of Color Club.
Yeah, absolutely. So Women of Color is an organization that I currently serve as president of. That's the one organization I've been a part of all 4 years throughout college. So I joined like in November of my freshman year, so just a couple months into being on campus. And my reason for joining was because it was really important to me that I found a space where I felt like I was seen and heard and like welcomed and supported by people who came from the same like background as me.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Women of Color stands for. So when I first joined my freshman year, I was what we call our executive intern, which basically just meant I shadowed all of the other members on our board so I can kind of get to know what it meant to be on a board in college, because it's, of course, a little bit different than in high school. And then sophomore year, I went to being the vice president, and then my junior year, and now I serve as the president. And Women of Color is an organization that strives to educate, uplift, and unite women of color across our campus. So we do a lot of different things. We host like fun activities. We host like professional development things. We host workshops. We do an annual conference. And we do a lot of collaborations with other organizations on campus also. So really our goal is in whatever it is that we host, just to make sure that people feel like they have a community. and they're not alone. And I feel like the resources that we put out into the community are really helpful to anyone. But sometimes we don't know as first year, even second year students, where to access them, like to learn about like how to build your resume. Sometimes we don't know where to go for that. So like we host things like that so that everyone feels prepared going into like being an upperclassman. So I've loved my experience there. I've met so many amazing people, and the organization has grown so much since I joined also. When I was a freshman, it was also the transition back to in-person from COVID. So much of what we did freshman year was like virtual events, which is nice, but it of course has a lower audience. So my sophomore year and junior year, I really worked on making sure that people were coming in person and that people knew about the organization. And the organization has been on campus since 1989. So
Oh my gosh.
it's existed for over 35 years, which is really amazing.
Amazing.
And I've been able to connect with like people who were in the organization in the past, which I really love also.
Cool.
So yeah, it's been my best experience, I think, being a part of that for so long. I've always felt like I'm part of something like bigger than me when I'm part of Women of Color, because I connect with people on our board, but also we're giving resources to people that need them, that are like underclassmen. And I know that as a freshman, I struggled with like finding that community at first. So I know that other people are in my shoes too. So it's really nice to like kind of turn that around and give back.
That's amazing. I mean, wow. That's really cool. Also, congratulations on being president.
Thank you.
That's so cool. Do you have any like particular fun or rewarding memory or story or aspect of Women of Color Club?
Yeah, absolutely. So last spring, I took maybe the whole semester and like March and April specifically. So as I mentioned, we do an annual conference. And the purpose of that is we like to bring in speakers and do different workshops and kind of just do a long conference with the goal of empowering women of color and leaders on our campus and within the community. And we do one every single year. And like my freshman year, it was virtual and we didn't like get the audience that we hoped for. My sophomore year, it was our first one back in person, and it was a good conference. It was a great first one back in person, but I knew that we could improve more. So my junior year, my first year serving as president, we had a really great conference. We had a really big turnout. We had amazing speakers, and it was a great day. And it just was really rewarding to see that, like, the progression of the organization over my 3 years in it, but also to see that, like, so many people came and they loved the conference. Because of course, like when we're all working to plan it, I'm like hoping that it's gonna be a good impact on people. But you never know until they're there sitting in those seats, like listening to the speakers. So I was able to see that everybody really loved that. But also, like, I felt empowered by the speakers that were there. So I think that was an amazing experience. And also, Women of Color won a lot of awards from like the Boosted for African American Cultural Center and the Women's Resources Center, and also our Central Black Student Union. We won a few different awards, which I thought was like really impactful also. Because like we don't do this, of course, like get rewarded for it. We do it because we know that people need resources. We want to give back to the community. We want to uplift others. But we won a few different awards. Like some of them were, we won Organization of the Year from like the Black Cultural Center and also the Black Student Union. And we also won an award called the Strive Together Award from the Women's Resources Center. And all of those are just basically saying that we like have a really strong organization and that we work to empower others, which I thought was really rewarding because that's our entire goal. So it's amazing to see that we're being recognized for that. And I have a board that works extremely hard, and a lot of people have been involved in it as long as I have, or for more than like one semester or 1 year. So we all were very, very happy with the outcome of that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It sounds like you're in the right headspace about it. I mean, it's like you said, you don't do it for the rewards and the recognition, but it is really nice to be recognized because it means that it's like, at least in some capacity, kind of working. That's the best feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. So you strike me as a very organized, goal-driven kind of person. Yeah, you are a very busy bee, it sounds like to me. Do you have any tips for like staying organized and managing your time in college?
Yeah, I feel like at whatever point you are in your like educational journey, whether you're in high school now or whether you've already started college, you can start getting organized. And I feel like right when I was a freshman, because most of my classes were online, like it was Zoom sessions.
COVID, right?
Yeah. So I was like having to be organized. Like everything was still on our like online platform Canvas, but I felt like I needed to like take an extra step to be organized when everything was on Zoom. So that's where I learned to just like make to-do lists, write things in a planner, or use a Google Calendar, and that's kind of been what I stuck with all 4 years, and it worked really well for me. I like plan out every single part of my day on a Google Calendar, which is a little bit too much, like to a lot of people, but I like to like plan in to make sure like I give myself, you know, an hour and a half break to take a nap, go to dinner, whatever it is that I want to do. So I plan out every part of my day because it makes me feel most relaxed to see that I have everything on the schedule. And also like with making to-do lists, that's made me be very goal oriented. Because I see like what I've accomplished in a day, but I also see what I still want to do. And I think being organized and like goal oriented is what has allowed me to be so involved on campus. Because without that, like it's very hard to juggle being involved like in enrichment activities while still trying to like succeed in classes. So staying organized lets me like do well in my classes so that I have time and like the energy to put into other things as well.
Totally. I feel like there's a lot of big changes when you go from high school to college. One of the biggest is time management in your schedule and the structure, or maybe lack of structure.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, like the lack of structure, because I was thinking about it, like in high school, you're in school like 8 to 3 every day, and then like I would go to like track practice or cheer practice, then I go home, dinner, homework, repeat the next day, and there was never any change to it. And here it's like I never have a day of the week that's exactly the same as the others. So it's like really 5 times more important to stay organized, to make sure that every day of the week you know what's going on and you feel prepared to like go on with the week.
Yeah. There's no assigned rhythm necessarily to like base your day or your week on. So yeah, the scheduling yourself, that's where that kind of like grounding it comes in, and you get to like actually figure out, okay, what am I doing? It's so easy to just fall asleep, honestly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I learned that for sure.
Yeah. But you said you schedule your naps.
Yeah, I like make sure that I schedule how much time I want to spend doing my work so that like I get that out of the way, and then I have the rest of the time to nap or eat or like watch a movie, whatever it is that I want to do. Because if not, I will just sleep. I love to sleep. So I will like just fall asleep doing work, or like I'll be like, oh, I'll just take like a 20-minute nap, and then it'll be like 2 hours later. So it's very easy to kind of fall off of a schedule and then get in the habit of like being free flow, which for me does not work. Like I know that I need to like have structure to like be able to go about my day.
So walk me through like a typical day in your life. You kind of did, but like today, well, it's winter, so you might have like a winter edition. Right, like, how do you get around? Like, where you live in a dorm? Do you live on campus, off campus, stuff like that?
Yeah, so I'll do tomorrow because today's pretty relaxed for me. But like on my Wednesdays for this semester, my days will start at like 8 in the morning. I have my first class at 9:30, and then another class right after that at 11. And then I have a little bit of a break for about an hour and a half. So like go do lunch, maybe do some homework. And then after that, I have 2 more classes. So one's at 2 o'clock, one's at 3:30. And then I'm done with class for the day at 5. And then from there, I'll either go to work, depending on what day it is, or I'll have meetings or like events for our student organization. And that sometimes can last from like 5 to 6, or it might be like 5 to 8. It kind of ranges depending on like what week it is. Then I'll go to dinner. And then at the end of the day, 3 times a week, I'm part of Legend Dance Company. So we have dance from 8 to 10 p.m.
A third club.
So that's normally how I end my day at dance, which is really nice because while it is like, of course, like I'm working out, it's like really relaxing to just like do something that I get to take my mind off of like everything stressing me out. So
yes. Yeah. That is, I don't know, dance. I'm not a dancer. My sister is a huge dancer. I don't know, I can just see that it's very rewarding in the way that it's exercise, like you said, but it's also kind of like a brain exercise.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. It's a very, like, switching your brain to a different mode, at least a certain point in the week or day, is probably very rewarding, I would think.
Yeah, I would say it is, because for me, like, I'm involved in like 5 different student organizations, and like not including like the dance company. And I feel like all of them are very like academic driven, but when it comes to that one, I feel like it doesn't feel like work to me. It doesn't feel like I have to like sit in a meeting all day for it, plan an event for it. I can just go to dance class. And it's like really nice to like have that mindset switch. And I think it's also important to like have that balance when you are in college, because it's stressful, it'll get overwhelming at times, but it's nice to have that balance like built into my schedule too.
Yeah. What kind of dance do you do?
We do a lot of like jazz and lyrical there.
Oh, nice. Love that. So did you say 5 clubs and the dance is separate?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So rattle them off real quick.
Okay, yeah.
After a few.
So besides Women of Color and Latinx in Law, I'm also part of the National Association of Black Journalists on campus. So I'm the programming chair for the chapter here. And then I'm also a part of Kappa Alpha Pi Pre-Law Professional Fraternity, and I do like standards for the chapter here. And then the last one is I'm part of the NAACP chapter here as well. So I'm the Political Action and Juvenile Justice Committee chair.
So, yes. Wow. That's very impressive. And do you work as well on campus?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an internship or a job?
I currently have a few jobs on campus. I work in the admissions office, actually. So I'm one of the senior staff there. So I do like presentations for like the incoming students and like to high school students that are like taking a field trip here.
Yes.
So I do presentations. So maybe one of my favorite jobs. I love that. I also work with the Women's Resources Center very closely. So I'm a FI care facilitator. So like all first year and transfer students take a workshop on sexual misconduct prevention. So I facilitate that workshop. And then I work at the Career Center too. So there I like review students' resumes and cover letters.
She does it all, you guys. She does it all. We need to have you back for like 3 more episodes just to cover all that stuff. Impressive.
Thank you.
It sounds fairly well-rounded. I know a lot of them are very like kind of academic based, but they also have their nuances. Mm-hmm. Can you speak to the benefits of having such variety and opportunities as a student?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I realized the importance of having variety, like kind of as a sophomore. I've always known that like my goal ultimately is law school. So like all of my classes and my studies have always been tailored towards my pre-law journey. And like a lot of the organizations that I'm involved in are related to that as well. But of course, no matter how much I love that and I'm passionate about that, like I don't want to spend all day, every day focusing on pre-law. So having that variety like also lets me like explore different avenues that I'm passionate about while like still positively contributing to the community here on campus and like having fun with it. So I think having the variety keeps me sane. It like keeps me from focusing too much on one thing. It like helps me not feel stressed out about it, about like my studies or like even the organizations that I'm involved in.
Cool. Yeah. Variety, I think it is important. It's kind of like the dance thing that we said earlier. It's like just getting your brain in a different mode somewhat regularly. It kind of keeps you sane. Yeah, so I totally get that. I wonder if you want to give a little bit of advice, because obviously you've really found your place on this campus. You're very involved in lots of different things. Do you have advice for students who are going into college and they're worried about finding belonging or finding their space, especially at a large university like this one?
Yeah. I'll say like no matter like how involved I seem like right now, when I was a freshman, I was like terrified. I was like, there's no way like I'm gonna figure out how to like navigate being here. The school size felt like very overwhelming to me at the beginning. And I think to kind of figure that out, I just had to like put myself out there a little bit. And that's like very challenging, which is why it took me some time to do. But I was definitely very scared and I spent most of my time like in my room. I was always in my dorm room and I refused to go anywhere unless somebody was going with me. Like I wouldn't even go to the dining hall unless my roommate went with me. So I think just like learning to put myself out there and realizing that there are so many students here that somebody else is in the same boat as me. And I realized that there's actually a lot of people in the same boat as me. I know a lot of people came in with like friends from high school or like elementary school too. And like I didn't have too many that I was like close with that lived near me or anything. So I had to like put myself out there on my own. So just going to that one event, like campus offers so many different things, whether it's student organizations or like the Illini Union Board, different cultural houses, resource centers, whatever it is, there's events happening every single day. So just going to one thing is really the way it's like meet one person and then from there you'll meet who they know. Yeah. And it can keep going from there. I think also just like not being afraid to try something new. We're all like very set in a schedule in high school and like with college it's not the case. So you have the opportunity to try whatever it is you're interested in. And with how many different organizations there are, it's so important to like do what you're passionate about, because if you don't, like you don't want to put it off and then you never explore what it is that you really care about or what you're interested in because you're so focused on like kind of staying in the shell. And I think like no matter how challenging it is, if it like is easier to find somebody to go with you, find somebody like on your floor in your residence hall, find somebody who is like sitting, who doesn't have like people that are sitting within the dining hall, find somebody in your class who's also a first year student or a transfer student, whatever it is, like find somebody to go with you and then you guys can explore that together.
Wow, that's really great advice. And I feel like it shows because of where you're at now. And also, like, you're very goal-driven, like we said, so where you want to end up in the future. Law school, I see it in your future. And many other great things, too. You're incredibly well-rounded, and, yeah, you gave some great advice, so thank you so much. Do you have any other last-minute, like, thoughts or advice or even platforms that you might want to shout out while we're on?
I think one last thing I'll say is like your college experience is really what you make of it. And that's something that I've learned like throughout the years. Like what I am doing right now is like my version of my college experience, and everybody's looks different. So like while this is what works for me, something else works even better for somebody else. So it's really whatever it is that you want to do, how many organizations you want to get involved in, or where you want to work, where you want to have an internship at. That's your college experience. And that's no matter what you do like throughout your 4 years or your time at a university. You can explore whatever you want. You can pursue whatever you want. It's up to you. And whatever makes you happy is what's important. And then in terms of like things to shout out, I think anyone at the University of Illinois should look at Women of Color, Latinx in Law, our chapter of NAACP. Those are all great organizations to get involved in, and they're open to students of all majors, and they've all been really good experiences for me.
Amazing. Absolutely. We're going to link all of that stuff in the description for this, so you can find them on social media, websites, whatever it is. You can check them out there. And Courtney, thank you again. Thanks so much for checking out our podcast, guys. You can find us on all the streaming services. Thanks so much, Courtney. I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, guys. We'll see you next time.